independent review of a recent oil spill in Vancouver's English Bay is making 25 recommendations as to how to improve oil spill response. The report released this morning was commissioned by the Coast Guard after 2,700 liters of bunker fuel spilled from a freighter in English Bay back in April. Jill Bennett is following this story for us and joins us now from downtown Vancouver with more on what the report says.
Well, Sam, it's 90 pages long, as you mentioned, 25 recommendations made by John Butler in this report. You can boil it down, though, to one word: communication. It finds great lack in communication. Some of those things that have been addressed since, but I'll just read to you a couple of the findings or issues.
Being on this production has motivated me. I remember being on set and I felt the character that I'm playing and the kind of warrior he is. It's inspired me. Whoever thought a Skid Row kid would be working with Tom and Leo and Alejandro. I've never dreamed that.
Everything we have with the story. Everything.
Alk Dog. I try to, my best ability to make people feel him. There were certain scenes that were just powerful.
Just start swinging and Damien come and picked him up, his legs kicking and he's still fighting. He's getting packed off.
No, I'm grateful that I'm allowed to sit here on your land, you know, and to share our experiences that we go through.
Did you know my dad too?
Yeah. I was just a young boy. We are people of the land, First Nations people. But having that opportunity, we're going to fight till the bitter end for the land. And a lot of people don't realize how much poison that's been going through. It's all about money. It's all about ownership. It's all about them.
When do you think oysters stop showing up here?
I know, I think they're more delicate than the clams and crabs because it seems like they went first.
Like 50 years ago?
Yeah, there's a leak in one of these oil refineries and they said they're not going to fix it.
The Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh Nation people lived off of that water. Now they can't even swim in it. They can't even swim in it now.
Capitalism, as we know it, where if you understand it as use natural resources as your own convenience to get profit, not understanding the surrounding and not respecting animals and nature and societies just for the fact of getting what you need. I think we are still digging and cutting and extracting every natural resource we can. But I don't know when we will understand that, until we kill the last animal and we eat the last fish and we cut the last tree, we will understand that we are not able to eat money. There's going to be a moment that we will realize that. And yes, of course, this is happening all around the world.
I'm not talking for myself anymore. I'm a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. I only think about my future generations. There comes a time in your life, stand up for something. It doesn't have to be this way. We can change. We have a whale song. I don't know if you remember it.
somehow you're going to have an ability to understand what resources can be used and how much. I think the mountain men saw that the day was coming where the beaver were going to be pretty scarce. So the mistakes that were made during this era, were repeated in generations after that when it came to mining and timber and things like that.
We keep climbing until we reach Old Gate.
Every generation can see it. I don't understand why we don't study it, or learn from it, but we can see it.
Yeah.
Says there's a way down there. Who we following?
You follow who you want. I'm going up. Tommy, keep going up. Come here. Move it up.
For me, it was interesting because I got to play a character that wasn't very verbal. So it's different for me because I had to convey a lot of that without words or in a different language. It was almost like doing a documentary in a lot of ways because when you do a movie, you can plan a lot of stuff out structure-wise as far as what the story is going to be beforehand, but really the elements of nature came into play a lot while doing this movie. We had to sort of adapt to our surroundings, so it was the closest thing to a documentary I think I've ever done as far as an actor is concerned. It was reacting to what nature gave us.
I knew that the weather and the autumn and the winter will be transforming the landscape, it will be transforming the actors, it will be transforming our psyche, our spirit, our emotional state. So by navigating the same season and exposing our bodies and mind to the same season in chronological order allow me, all the crew, and especially the actors to get into a journey emotionally and physically that allow them to bring those emotions to the characters and feel it.
Alejandro made this story much more interesting because he got into the spiritual life of Glass and into his mind. And I think that we probably all grow with suffering, and I think that it was a growth for him, that he, when he found he wasn't dead and he had to live again, then he could, approach it as a whole new life.
Arthur Raquelas, I live in Fort Worth, Texas.
And what's your, are you Navajo?
Yes.
Do you speak the language?
Just a little.
When Alejandro told me that you were an actor, that was a huge awakening for me because I never thought of myself as one. I'm just a driver in Texas delivering gas and fuel to these stations, and all of a sudden I'm on this big, huge production set. Where does that come from? How does that happen? How does all that come about?
This is just a picture of Grandfather a long time ago when he was young. Just the preparation for battle in life as well as, in our spiritual lives. And he took me to be under his wing and teaching and to be his next to take his place.
He was a Navajo guy, and he was a well-known minister even on the reservation, because a lot of people, you know, because I didn't even realize the role I was really even preparing for, that he was working with me on as I was growing up, being who I was, or who I, you know, because I think he even had an idea exactly who I was going to be, but I couldn't even see that at the time he did. I was trained as even as a young kid was to be a medicine man, and on this journey I've kind of learned how to become one, and then actually doing it on film was a whole little big thing, you know, a whole big, you know, awakening. Even singing over Leo and praying over Leo, I could mentally prepare, but if I'm not spiritually prepared, then I won't be mentally ready. And that took a lot of faith, trust, you know, to build up.
And the nature came with his son, and now he was not able and promised the nature that honorable kind of, you know, trait. And I found so moving that thing, and I said, what a beautiful understanding of consider nature a live entity, not just like a piece of trunk or a piece of thing for me to make me feel. It's like when you suddenly realize that you are alive as a plant or as a fish or as an animal or as a tree, then the experience of being alive is enhanced enormously. And that's what I learned from these guys. I was really, really moved by that, you know. It was very shocking to see, you know, when we were shooting in Calgary, all the natives from there, they were telling us that they have never experienced so that weather that we were going through, never in their lives. I saw the difference between 1 degree. The difference of 1 degree, it's literally between water and ice. And we saw how ice melt, and obviously every single thing changed, and how the ecosystem was completely different and destroyed and changed and transformed.
That's it! There's no way through! You need to turn back! We have to keep going! There's no clear path!
I thought that we were in big trouble, and we did everything we can to finish there. But there was a moment that, in a river scene where the film should end, that when we scout, we were expecting to be absolutely full winter and a lot of snow. They were, you know, yellow grass and bees. In a month that supposedly normally historically has been super low temperatures. So there was nothing to do. And then you have to surrender. And yes, it's madness. I truly believe that there's a lot to consider in revenge. The challenge thing for me was that even when in the surface revenge is a driven force, which it is obviously by the pain and by the rage Glass has, I wanted to get through Revenge, revealing other aspects that could possibly bring the character to realize that there's something better than that, or bigger than that. Or, let me put it this way, for me was to make it clear that revenge, once it's accomplished, it just leaves you empty. And then the meaning of life just collapses. Because if that is your driven force, nothing that you do to damage other people will satisfy you or will bring what you lost.
There's some, powerful themes there for me, because I feel like this was the first sort of denigration of the wilderness, of the environment. This is, the first bits of capitalism at play, this massive fur trade that went to Europe. It was, right after whale oil and right before the gold rush and before we found these natural resources around the world, It's mankind's first imprint on land in the Americas.
Someday you may come back here.
Yeah.
As you get older, you might come back this way to live. So what is it you want to see when you come back here? This is your home. This is your homeland. You have family that has always been here.
There's a war in the system that we have applied to ourselves. There's a war to death. In a way when there is no protection and nobody is saying this is enough, or now this interest of you to get profit is damaging the community and the society, and you don't protect nothing, then we become animals. We become to the savage era. We become to the primitive era that the big one killed the small one.
I think things like the boom that come in here really just tear up the earth and tear up relationships with people, and really just tear up a lot of the beauty of the land that was once here and may not be here. And for me, what I want to see is, I guess, just a betterment of every generation and the generations to come. And I don't know. How do you want for your kids and your grandkids to live on the reservation when you're all old?
I want them to pick their favorite spot.
Yeah? Live in their favorite spot forever? So.
Sometime when my kids grow up, they'll be a part of